What happens when a self-important HOA leader calls 911 on a rancher for simply managing her own water? Sarah Thompson found out the hard way. She marched up to my gate with a group of angry neighbors, phone in hand, recording everything, demanding the county sheriff arrest me for stealing community water. The stream running through my Montana ranch had dropped to a trickle, about 15 gallons per minute. She called it theft. The sheriff called it contract enforcement. What Sarah didn't realize was that my family had held senior water rights to that spring since 1934. The 1996 agreement, her subdivision relied on allowed exactly 15 gallons per minute for irrigation and landscaping only, not for fountains, koi ponds, or backyard swimming pools. She had been pulling 3 times the legal limit for months. When I installed a valve to enforce the contract, she hired an excavator, trespassed onto my land, and dug a 30-foot trench to bypass it. In the process, she wrecked spawning gravel for federally protected bull trout. Sarah made the classic mistake of the entitled, assuming 2 years of unauthorized use somehow created permanent rights to someone else's water. She assumed wrong. This is the story of how a homeowners association president ended up serving 18 months in federal prison. She never asked the one question that mattered. Who actually owns the water I've been taking? Fines totaling $85,000, $135,000 in habitat restoration, and $120,000 in restitution to me, all because water law doesn't bend for how badly you think you need it. It cares who has the senior claim. Let me take you back to the beginning. I never planned to spend my life on a ranch. Growing up, I dreamed of studying marine biology, swimming with dolphins, researching coral reefs. I went to college in California, earned my degree in environmental science, and worked for a conservation group in San Diego. But in 2005, my mother was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. I came home to Montana to help care for her, figuring I'd stay a few months. She passed 8 months later, and I never left. My father, then 63, needed help running the place. He'd been handling it alone since I moved away, and the work was wearing him down. So I stayed. Somewhere between feeding cattle in January blizzards and repairing irrigation ditches in July heat, I fell in love with the land. Not the postcard version, but the real one. The hard one. 14-hour days, calloused hands, exhausted sleep, up at dawn to do it again. The land isn't just dirt and fences, it's legacy. My grandfather, Samuel Reynolds, bought this 180-acre ranch in 1934 for $1,200. It sits in the foothills of the Gallatin Range, about 30 miles outside Bozeman. Rocky soil, uneven terrain, a creek that ran strong in spring but slowed by late summer. But Grandpa, Sam, saw potential. A natural spring half a mile from the southern boundary, tucked in a grove of cottonwoods, produced 50 gallons per minute year-round, fed by a reliable aquifer. He filed for appropriative water rights in March 1934 under Montana's first-in-time, first-in-right system. Senior rights go to whoever first puts water to beneficial use. Grandpa Sam was first. He channeled the spring into a creek that flowed 2 miles through the property, watering pastures, sustaining livestock through droughts that wiped out neighbors. The creek eventually crossed onto the old Miller Ranch downstream, 640 acres owned by a quiet cattleman named Earl Miller. Earl never claimed the water. He had his own wells. For 60 years, things stayed that way. Then Earl died, his kids sold, and a developer knocked on our door in 1996. I was 19, home from college. A man in a suit from Miller Land Development wanted access for a planned subdivision. 85 luxury homes, golf course, clubhouse. My father listened, then said no to selling rights. They settled on a limited use agreement, 15 gallons per minute max, irrigation and landscaping only. No industrial use, no resale. Violate the terms, and access ends. The contract was reviewed by lawyers, recorded with the county in June 1996. The subdivision never happened. The developer went bankrupt in 1998. The land sat empty for 25 years. The agreement gathered dust in a file. My father passed in 2018, heart attack at 76. I inherited everything: the ranch, cattle, equipment, and those senior water rights. By then, I'd been running the operation for 13 years. I knew every fence line, every pasture, every inch of that creek. In 2024, a new developer, Ridgeview Communities out of Bozeman, bought the old Miller land for $18 million. They built Pine Hollow Estates, 85 high-end homes, $800,000 to $1.2 million each, marketed as luxury mountain living with natural water features. I didn't pay much attention at first. Out-of-staters moving to Montana for the views and authentic rural life was common. Then the project manager called. They found the 1996 agreement and planned to honor it. 15 gallons per minute for irrigation and landscaping. I reminded her, exceed the limit and the agreement voids. She promised careful monitoring. Pine Hollow was finished in August 2025. Homes sold fast. Wide streets, manicured lawns, a clubhouse, and water features everywhere. Fountains in front yards, koi ponds in back, in-ground pools with waterfalls. By spring 2025, riding my horse along the southern boundary, I saw the problem. Ornate fountains running full blast. Koi ponds circulating constantly. Pools being filled directly from the creek. My creek. By July, the flow dropped. Sections that used to be knee-deep were ankle-deep. My cattle struggled in the lower pastures. The spring still produced 50 gallons per minute upstream. The issue was downstream overuse. I walked the creek where it entered the subdivision. Dozens of taps, PVC pipes to homes. I counted 12 fountains, 6 pools. Rough math, at least 45 gallons per minute. 3 times the limit. I contacted the HOA president, Karen Whitaker. We met at a coffee shop in Bozeman. Karen was 58, blonde bob, white capris, pastel blouse, skinny vanilla latte with oat milk. I ordered black coffee and got straight to it. Your subdivision is pulling 3 times the allowed amount. The agreement says 15 gallons per minute for irrigation and landscaping. Fountains, ponds, pools aren't covered. It needs to stop. She smiled thinly. The agreement gives us access. We're accessing it. Those features enhance property values, landscaping. That's not interpretation. That's the contract. My cattle are suffering. The creek's low. Reduce to legal levels or I'll enforce it. She leaned back. And how? Shut it off? Good luck. 85 families depend on that water. I stood. This is your warning. In September, I sent a certified letter. Violation notice. 30 days to comply or action follows. She signed for it. No reply. October, I hired a water rights attorney, Michael Reyes in Bozeman. He reviewed everything. You have ironclad senior rights. The agreement is conditional and limited. Install a flow control valve on your property. Limit to 15 gallons. It's your land. Cost, $18,000. Installed November 1st by engineer Robert Klein. Automated valve, flow meter, locked concrete housing, app alerts. On November 2nd, we activated it. Flow dropped from 42 to 15 gallons per minute and held. 2 days later, the call started. November 3rd, 7 a.m. My phone rang. Karen Whitaker. What did you do? Fountain stopped. My koi pond's half empty. People are furious. I installed the control system. You're getting exactly 15 gallons per minute, the contract amount. That's not enough. We have 85 homes. Then follow the agreement or find another source. She hung up. I screenshot the call log. Evidence folder growing. That afternoon, Sheriff Jack Harlan's cruiser rolled up. Jack and I grew up together. He knew the ranch. Karen called 911 again. Wants you arrested for water theft. I rode with him to the gate. Karen stood there with 6 neighbors, phone recording. Sheriff, she's cut off our water. Arrest her. Jack stayed calm. Ma'am, the source is on her property. She has senior rights from 1934. The agreement limits you to 15 gallons for specific uses. She's enforcing it. Karen flushed. We've used it for 2 years. That's our right. Jack shook his head. Not how Montana water law works. I showed the documents. 1934 certificate, 1996 agreement, deed. Jack reviewed, then told her, she's legal. You're overusing. File a civil suit if you disagree. But stop calling 911 for non-emergencies, or I'll cite you. Karen stormed off, vowing to sue. That evening, she called an emergency HOA meeting. 60 residents packed the clubhouse. Karen declared we'd take matters into our own hands if the lawsuit failed. November 5th, the lawsuit arrived. Pine Hollow HOA v. Sarah Thompson. Injunction to restore full flow, $500,000 damages. Michael called it frivolous. They'll lose. Keep the valve running. Document everything. 2 weeks later, riding fence, I heard a diesel rumble near the creek. I trotted over. A backhoe, yellow, full-size, 20 feet inside my line. Bucket tearing earth. Karen stood watching, arms crossed. I dismounted. Karen, what the hell? Fixing your problem. Restoring access. The trench, 30 feet long, 4 feet deep, paralleled the creek, bypassing my valve. You're trespassing, destroying my land. Stop now. Swim me. I called Jack. She's on my property with a backhoe, diverting the creek. Jack arrived with a deputy. He arrested Karen on the spot. Criminal trespass, property destruction, illegal diversion. She cried angry tears as he cuffed her. This isn't over. Then I saw it. The trench cut through bull, trout spawning gravel, rounded stones, shallow pools for eggs and fry. Federally endangered under the Endangered Species Act. I photographed everything. Called Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks. Biologist Eric Lang arrived, documented the damage. Bad. Critical habitat destroyed. Sediment plume downstream. Federal offense. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Special Agent Laura Mendoza opened an investigation. Evidence. No permits, unauthorized waterway alteration, habitat destruction during pre-spawn season. Population impact. 60 to 75% reduced reproduction for years. Restoration cost. $135,000. January 14th, federal charges. Unlawful taking under ESA. State charges followed. Karen refused a plea. 12 months federal, concurrent state time, fines, restitution. She went to trial March 17th in Missoula Federal Court. Prosecution presented. Sheriff testimony, biologist photos, agent report, my statement. Defense claimed good faith, community protection. Cross-examination shredded her. She admitted knowing the agreement limits, ignoring my letter, trespassing deliberately. Jury deliberated 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing. 18 months federal prison, 3 years supervised release, $50,000 fine, $135,000 habitat restitution, $120,000 to me. Permanent no contact order. Karen sobbed. Marshals led her away. Pine Hollow unraveled. Residents learned the truth. Only 15 gallons allowed. Not enough for luxury features. HOA sued the developer for misrepresentation, settled $400,000. Many drained pools, removed fountains, drilled wells, or sold at a loss. 12 families left. I used the restitution to restore the creek, remove trench, replace gravel, recontour banks, replant natives. By next June, bull trout returned, silver-red flashes holding in the current, spawning again. The ranch was safe. The creek healed. Karen learned entitlement doesn't trump law. Water isn't community just because it flows past your gate. It's owned by whoever holds senior rights. Invitations to use it can be revoked. What do you think? Was the punishment too harsh, or exactly what was needed? Have you dealt with HOA overreach, water disputes, or seen entitlement turn to injustice? Share your thoughts in the comments, especially on how power, fairness, and standing up for what's yours play out in real life. I'd love to hear your side.